Welcome everyone back to another Permadirt and Friends review. This time, there's only two of us. There's only two of us. It's nothing personal, but Ostrich said he had better things to do, and he might come back next week if I ever pay him some money. So until then, we got Poka because he'll show up for free.
Wait, he's getting paid?
Wait, we're getting paid? Wait, I'm getting paid?
I have to deal with the smell that you're putting off, and I'm not getting money
Bro,
for this? Come on, man.
our last video got like 16 views, so don't
Holy.
even press me about numbers right now and money.
Not as good as what was
Uh
your Gears of War. Your Gears of War was popping or something.
Things pop off. The internet works in mysterious ways. Welcome back to episode 5, season 2 of The Last of Us reviews. If this is your first time seeing us, thank you for showing up. We discuss episodes weekly as they come out, and for your enjoyment and or pleasure, and maybe some of mine. I like talking about it with the friends, with people, and this is the way we do it. This is secretly the only reason why I do this, is so I get to talk about shows that I like with other people. We're learning a lot today. We're learning a lot behind the scenes,
A
Poka.
lot of behind the scenes. Yeah.
A lot of behind the scenes. Yep. A lot of behind the scenes. If you don't catch it live on Twitch, you can go ahead and find it later on YouTube at Permadirt Gaming channel. Just go ahead, send there. There's links down below. You know how to find it. It's the internet. You'll get there if you want to. And if not, I'm sorry. All right. Without further ado, let's get into the breakdown. Dun 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 breakdown. Okay, I don't know. That's the song. Okay, this one is entitled "Feel Her Love." Feel Her Love. I wonder what that could be about, Poka, huh?
I wonder.
I wonder. This was directed by Stephen. Is it Steven or I think it's Steven Williams probably, or Stefan. I don't know. Anyway, best known for doing lots of Lost. So, did you ever watch Lost?
No, I did not actually.
Goodness. Lost is some interesting stuff. Did a little bit of Westworld, and it did lots of like one-off episodes here and there of stuff. It comes in at 44 minutes, so definitely our shortest one we've had so far. Which I think I'm going to come back to later. So store that little tidbit, 44 minutes, back in your head, because I think now that we are getting close to the end, we're getting there. I'm starting to have some more opinions as the landscape unfolds before us. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I gotcha.
Exactly. Perfect. Okay, we open up on, again, I was going to look up this character to make sure I got it right, because we've only seen her a couple times. Is it Hanrahan? Was her name?
Yeah,
Was how she was.
something like that.
Do we know her first name yet?
I don't think so.
Let me figure it out. The Last of Us season 2. I don't know how to spell it. Hanrahan? There she is. First name. Nope, it's not mentioned. It says cool. So I was not wrong. We are not wrong. Let's keep going. So it opens up on Hanrahan. There's a big door that's welded shut, they show. And she then walks into this room where there's a leader of a crew sitting there having a smoke. And it's kind of set up as this big boardroom meeting, and they're having this sort of like a debrief. It almost looks like a debrief. And you can tell Hanrahan's very critical, and she's saying like, hey, there's a war coming, and Isaac's busy with that right now, so that's why I'm in here, because if he was in here, you'd be dead type thing, and all these things. It's a very hostile situation, the way it starts. And so I think like you kind of get in there, you're like, oh boy, okay, they like this WLF, they are running things pretty extremely at this point. So then this other woman, what was her last name? What was her last name? Wong? I think it was Wong.
I don't remember that.
I'm trying to remember her name tag. I think it was Wong. And
Wait, she's wearing a name
you can
tag?
correct me. Yeah, on her jersey, her last name.
Her jersey.
Not jersey, sorry. I got my mind mixed up. On her uniform.
Okay, hold on. I'm waiting for you. Continue. I'll
Yeah, I'll continue on. And then she kind of talks. She's like, okay, let's talk about what happened, because she apparently killed some of them, is kind of the way it was brought to Hanrahan. So that's why Hanrahan comes in kind of angry, like, hey, you're killing people. We need people. We got this war coming. What are we doing? So she talks about how all right, we need to expand the hospital. We need more space. We gotta clear it. So we went into the basement.
It says
Um,
E Park.
oh, it was Park. Oh shoot, okay,
Wong?
Park.
You really went
I thought.
Wong?
Well, no, I actually thought it was. It must have been something else. I was dead serious on that. I
No,
really thought it was.
I respect it. I respect it.
No hate if anyone saw
Don't
that.
read into it too much.
Oh, okay. About how they went down to B1, and B1 was completely clear. There was nothing going on there. Not one infected was there. Nothing, and there was not even a rat, is what they said. Which was again a big tip off to maybe we haven't seen and done everything here yet, but there was no rats down there at all either. Then they went down to B2, and she sent a person named Leon down there, because he was their best of the best. So he said, we'll put the best down there, and away they go. And then he basically radioed back saying that they couldn't breathe and that it was in the air. Um, Once that happens, then you see Hanrahan grab a smoke as well, and she lights up a smoke. I just kind of, you know, basically, in my opinion, saying like, oh, this has turned from like a debrief to like a, okay, I'm gonna smoke with you because this is some pretty terrible stuff. And we all don't know anything yet as people. We just know like, okay, they lost some people down there. They say it's airborne. There's spores in the air now. Um, and that they couldn't breathe, and that these people, that they got locked in there. Basically, what happened is he said close off everything. So they welded the main door shut. Everything else we were told doesn't work. Like there's collapsed stairwells, you can't get down that way. The elevators all don't work. They're stuck between floors and things like that. So nothing works. This was the only way down. They welded it shut with braces, so no one else could get down there, because they said the spores haven't reached the top, which is fine because we'd all be infected then. So let's just seal it down there. And then so they have the smoke, and then on the way out, we kind of figure out that Leon was actually this commander's son, um, which again explains kind of this whole situation about she was very shook up by all this. It wasn't just another soldier; it was actual her son, and kind of Hanrahan's response to it, and how she went from being like very hostile to being like, oh, this was not done on purpose. They ran into something they didn't know about. This wasn't what she was told, in my opinion. Um, I love that beginning scene. We'll just kind of stop there because that's the beginning scene right there. That is not in the games. This whole conversation is not in the games. We don't know anything like in there, and I like how it was written. Um, Very cool. Very not telling you certain things on purpose. I kind of like it. Make it a nice short scene that was impactful. Shows a little more of the human side of people again, which is great. Which is what you need.
Oh yeah, sets up what happens later too. Just like
Yeah, for sure. Was there anything else that you had taken away from that we needed to mention or you recall?
no, that was
Okay, perfect. Then we go on and we get the splash, just like the last one. We get Seattle Day 2. We pick it up in the theater. Dina is taking notes and calculations. The lights finally flick on. Basically, what happens here is we're just learning that Dina is smart and Ellie is dumb. Like
yep.
we're learning defined roles here. Like Dina is the smart one, and we've kind of learned that over the last few episodes, where she's like, you know what? You got to bring this supplies. You have to do this. You have to go here. Don't do the obvious stuff. And Ellie is kind of the hammer of the group. She just wants to go. Not much of a thinker yet, which again I think is a bit different than the games, because the games, I mean, obviously you're in control, but you never really feel, I think, like you're stupid. But maybe we were in the games and I just didn't think about it. I don't know.
I can't remember if she's like. I mean, she has the like what supplies to bring
Yep.
at the
Yeah.
beginning of the game, but then after that, you're kind of just doing shit. Like
Yeah. Exactly.
there's not. You don't get this because you're on your own basically the entire
Yeah.
most of the time.
Yeah. No,
So
that's fair. So then we have, because the power went on, they also mentioned it there too, is like natural gas for the win, baby. So they got some generators going, so they have some lights. The auditorium, that's underneath them, lights up. Ellie goes into the auditorium, goes right down to the stage. This is right from the game. like when you do in the game. And there's lots of guitars sitting up there. You can tell there was a concert of some sort going on up there, when everything kind of went crazy.
So much money in
Um,
guitar amps on that stage.
so much. Everything's Marshall too. Like it's not
Yeah,
even like off-brand stuff. It's
no,
just the rich of the rich.
it's just left there. I'm like, "Oh, please."
I actually thought for one second I saw that there was because they had power, and in my head I was thinking, oh, she's gonna try an electric guitar for the first time.
Oh, that would've
I thought
been
maybe that was something because look the way they kind of shot it, I'm like, oh, she's gonna grab it, but she grabs the acoustic, and I was like,
yeah.
oh, okay.
I was like
I'm like,
I first off, all the like, turning the lights on seems really stupid to me when you're trying to
seems
hide.
reckless.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and then, like, I don't know, you just have all the and the same with the flashlights later. I'm just kinda like, you're
yeah,
using these flashlights when you know there's people around. Chill,
yeah.
but whatever. Sorry.
The no, I kind of thought the same thing, but I remember in the game they had lights too, and the front is kind of closed off, so you can't really see much out there. But like it still is. You're right. There's certain levels of it, but I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, it is one of those things that you kind of go, did we need it?
Yeah,
um, so she goes there. She starts to play. Was it? It's a Pearl Jam song again that
if
Joel taught her.
yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. Starts playing that and stops right away. And then Dina kind of just in video game timing comes down, a couple minutes later, says, "I figured it out." She has a map, and basically she shows that the WF is very is organized, um, and they are doing patrols the kind of north and south, but there's this short little gap in their patrols where they don't go, so that's where they're going to go through. But immediately they realize they're like, well, why aren't they going through there? And then they, of course, oh, infected. Like they know that the reason they're not going in there is because there's something else in there. So they also have an interesting conversation right here, and I think which also kind of frames your mind for especially for those who haven't played the game. They have an open conversation about how dumb and reckless the WLF is because they're literally saying
Mm,
everything right over their walkie talkies. Um, which I mean, again, I was thinking the same thing too, but like they haven't realized that they have a walkie talkie. They're pretty reckless with them because again, they're used to Seraphites who don't believe in using technology. They're very culty. They're they just don't believe in it. So they can just talk freely over the mic and they don't have to worry about it. So kind of using it against them, I guess.
yeah, felt like they were
Um
just specifically trying to shut up some people that they knew
yeah.
were gonna be complaining about it.
Oh, for sure, for sure. Yeah. Okay, so then Ellie and Dina head out because they have their plans, they have their map, and away they go. It's funny, they have a few moments they talk about baby names, and then they kind of come across it's just light talk until they come across some dead people where they see a mural of the Seraphite leader, the prophet, the woman they always talk about, where it says something like I can't remember what the exact same
Uh,
thing said. Basically,
it says "Feel her love."
feel her love, and then the WLF wrote underneath it, basically like, can you
"Feel
feel
this,
this or so?
bitch."
Oh, yeah, feel this, yeah. And then there was a bunch of Seraphites murdered underneath it. Again, you get the look of like, oh, there's some pretty young people in there. Not saying they're necessarily kids, but for sure they're very young. They could be. They're toting that line. Um, so naturally, of course, Dina and Dina doesn't throw up this time though, but you can tell they're both visually very disturbed with this whole situation. You kind of, as much as they have all seen so far, them getting into this war already a few days in seems to be affecting them more than anything they've seen previously, in my
Oh, yeah.
opinion. Like it's just like, okay, there's a certain level of griminess in the dirt. These people hate each other, and you're seeing this played out on the land. Um,
Slowly
okay, so
realizing what kinda shit show they just walked into.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, no kidding. And not just a little Seattle, like this place has been a war zone since get-go.
Yeah.
Um so then again they keep walking and they eventually they're kind of slowly getting to this conversation about oh you know Dina, you should have stayed. I should have never brought you with, which is different than the game again. Ellie doesn't have these moments in the game. This is a show exclusive where she's kind of like, Dina, you should stay. And then Dina kind of brings up, hey, you never asked me about like my first kill. Which again, in the game, you learn on horseback on the way to Seattle. In the show, they don't, in the show, they stopped it and they said like, oh no, I'll tell you later type thing, or they somehow got away from it. But in the game, they tell you back then. Here, she tells him now, and basically says that she left the house, and a raider came in and killed her mom and sister, and then she shot him, and she was 8 years old. And the look on his face and all this stuff, they kind of go through all of it. But she basically says like, "What would have changed if I would have been there?" And she says basically, if I would have gone, it would have been the same. Basically, if I had gone to the Raiders place and done it and all these sort of things. She's playing all the stuff out, but basically what she comes back to at the end is that, people come and go and die in this world, but what they did to Joel was just sick. Um, and basically, the ongoing beating and stuff. So she can tell she's kind of emotional about it. She doesn't love it. Um, so anyway, Ellie, she kind of says like, "Hey, like I will go back if you want me to." Dina says like, "I will go back, like, if you tell me to, I will, but I don't want to. So you tell me what to do." Because Ellie's had this conversation a few times now. So Ellie says basically, "No, like you can come along," and so they both head out. So we fast forward a little bit. They've traveled to this area. Where this break in the patrols is. It's dark. They cut the gate, get to the warehouse. And it's funny, a little moment there where it's like, "Oh, look, is there anything in there?" She's like, "No, it's empty but haunted," and like just like us. It's pretty funny. I had a good chuckle at it.
I also like the, "I'm gonna look through the door." Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Let you, the person or the person who can actually get infected, will look through the door or something like that.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
exactly. Like, duh. Like I should be going first. Nothing can happen to me.
Just be a tank.
Um, exactly. So they talk game plan here, which again is very important. Again, Dina being the smart one in the group, basically saying, "Hey, moron, you always end up shooting first. Do not shoot." She's like, "If there's so many people in here, we get overrun. We're in trouble. Plus, we got all these other WLF people just outside the windows, because you can see their lights still shining around out there. There's a gap, but it's not that big. That everyone will hear you. So, like, don't shoot. We take them out silently. If we can't do that, we run. And if we can't outrun them, then shooting will be our last final ditch. So that is the last resort." And yeah, it's a she was very poignant about that. Like, do not shoot. Um, but one thing I did notice from here too is that they looked very nervous. Again, like for people who have done this their whole time, they're very very nervous. So yeah, it is what it is. They go down a long hallway. Again, still very paranoid, sneaking through a big room. They sneak through the long hallway, get to the room. Again, like it's just they're very paranoid. And then they eventually move up and they see a hunter. And immediately, this is where Ellie kind of says everything that went on. She's like, "Oh yeah, I met one of these things before. They're super smart. It's probably gonna flank us." And she's going through all this stuff immediately. Like we gotta. This is a problem. And says basically how she got bit by it last time, and Dina's like, "Ah, you got bit by that thing too." Like, okay, whatever. And um, so basically they see it, and then they try to kind of like look around, and then they start realizing, oh, it's more than one. There's probably like a dozen of these things out there.
Oh, yeah.
And one thing I really like about this game is, sorry, this show is that they are really I feel like in a game, I'm like, this isn't that big of a deal. But here I feel like one had them really nervous.
Yeah.
A bunch of them is a problem.
You can feel the panic of, like, even though Ellie can't get infected, like, just there's so much going on, like, the
So much going on.
desperation of I will say, I'm watching it right now, how many shots they miss Dina misses while she's sitting in the
Oh yeah.
cage shooting at them. I'm like, "Hey, just, like, they're not
Yeah. Can
faster
we
than bullets." Like,
No, yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. You need to be kind of clean with those shots. But basically, yeah, no, it's there's so many of them, and they're communicated, they're organized, they're flanking, they're doing everything that a smart individual would. So they panic and they're like, they decide for a second we're gonna run, and they realize they can't run because there's too many of them. So and basically she says, "Okay, Dina, you're gonna get over to that basically like a wire cage over in the corner because again she can't get infected." And Ellie's like, "I can get infected, but like we're gonna have to fight this out." Um, so they do, and Dina makes it to the room in the fenced off cage. They're getting overrun immediately. Like things are not going well. They're killing them, but there's still more. Ellie's trapped on the ground underneath one of these stalkers or hunters, whatever they're called. Um, and suddenly in the background, you see someone and he shoots a bunch of them. or this person shoots a bunch of them, and you're like, oh boy, this is WLF. Who is this? And it was actually Jesse, um, which is neat. A neat way to bring him in. He meets them at the theater in the game, I believe.
Yeah.
He doesn't meet them like this, so it's kind of a neat place to have him. Jesse pops up. Uh, they escape, and they escape running away from WLF. There's a bunch of them chasing them, and they get into this sort of park area where there's a bunch of long grass and stuff. Um, and they are right away when they get into this long grass, they're like, "Wait, the people stopped following us." They're like, "Oh, great, more infected." Right? Just showing like they have no idea about this city. They have no idea whose turf they're on right now, what to expect. Like it's hilarious. They just don't know. As much recon as they have, they don't have. Um,
I saw the park and I was like, "Oh, great. The whistling is gonna start." It's
Yep.
gonna
I
get
I recognized that park immediately
yeah,
from the game. I went, "Oh, man." I mean, the grass is longer and stuff in it, but I'm like, "Oh." I'm like, "This is gonna be a problem."
yeah.
Um, yeah, so it's pretty interesting. Let's see here. Jesse explains to them how he found them. He said there's a map in the theater. He also explains that he came with Tommy. So again, these guys left. Tommy in the game leaves a day before us. In the
Mhm.
show, apparently he left a day after us. So they were just nipping on their heels the whole time. Um, and then they decide that once they got to Seattle, they would split up to look for Ellie and Dina. So at this point, you can see Jesse's pretty angry. He's pretty upset with the two about because he didn't know that they were leaving. They broke out, um, and he basically says like, "No, we're not going forward. We're going home. Like the plan is not to. No, I'm not here to help you. I'm here to bring you home."
Mhm.
Um, that he doesn't think this is something worth doing right now, and that this is way too much. This place is way too occupied, and it's a fool's errand basically. Um, so then at this point, we start hearing WLF soldiers kind of talking off in the distance. They see this fire. There's a sorry, not WLF,
I was gonna say
Seraphite
yeah.
people talking off in the talking off in the distance. There's a bunch of them with torches and stuff. We hear WLF guy begging for his life. We see it. Basically, what's happening is they're cleansing him of his sin again, as they did with those other soldiers in the last one, where they basically hang him up and they have a giant hook and they just cut you out from the inside and let you bleed out because they believe that that is removing the sin from the body.
It was
Um,
brutal to watch.
it
Like,
was brutal. I was wondering, and that was my thought too. When I was watching, like, what are you going to show? 'Cause I'm
yeah,
like, we've seen some messed up stuff already. So where's the cutoff line here? So
yeah,
they showed enough to make it gross, but I don't think too much to go overboard.
yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know.
It was not as bad as it could have been, but
Yeah,
just knowing, like, it's one of those
just
your
no.
imagination's almost worse.
Yeah, yeah, no kidding. And then they all, of course, in this cult, they always say like "feel her love." That's what they say. Oh, feel her love. Like, I think that's what they're saying there, right? If I
Uh,
remember, I think that's what they I think that's where they got the name of the episode. I'm
hold
pretty
on.
sure if I remember,
He's about to do it.
'cause they yeah, I think that's what they say. Double check for that, but I didn't write that in here, but I'm pretty sure that's what it. um, so this guy is bleeding out, and then we hear some whistling going on. And of course, these people are all like, they're all paranoid. They don't really know about the whistling and the communication. And then suddenly, boom, Dina takes an arrow to the knee, um,
She was an
which is
adventurer.
hilarious. She boom, arrow to the knee. Ellie immediately says she will lead them away from Jesse and Dina. Um, and then same thing. So they all start running out. Like this is the most like, as much as I know what they do in the game, it's very similar to what they do in the game, but I got very much like Resident Evil 4 vibes from this, when like people are like running around with like stuff in
Oh,
their hands.
yeah.
Because they're just whipping through this park, like long grass, very overgrown. You can tell it's their territory as opposed to
Mhm.
like the other part, which was very concretey and like no grass growing anywhere. And you can see this is their part. So they're just running through here, and then they all stop. They whistle because someone whistles. They all stop, and then basically they're told to go find. It's very culty and very eerie. So again, we've seen both parties here do their thing. Meaning, like we've seen the worst of the WLF, and we've seen some of the worst of the Seraphites.
Yeah.
And the Seraphites just you know, they were portrayed to us. I'm glad that we got into the nitty gritty of things because we needed to. Because in the beginning, I was worried they were going to say just basically say like, "Hey, the Seraphites are just caught up in this war. They don't really want it."
Right.
But you can definitely see how the hatred for both sides exists.
Yeah. Yeah, they're in it.
Yeah, 100%. Um, so Ellie runs out of this area, comes out the other side, and lo and behold, we are at the hospital. And then we get the whole Bonnie the dog smells her. The dog just named Bonnie. The guy's like, "Hey Bonnie, don't blah blah blah." And so obviously, for those of you who don't know, The Last of Us Part Two, they introduced dogs into that world, and they would just sniff you out. They were terribly annoying mechanic, not annoying, but they were just you had to deal with them. Um, and so in the game or in the show, sorry, she crawls kind of into this hole, and that's how you get away from them in the game too. Because the guy basically just says, "Oh, just it's a rat or something or
Mhm.
a raccoon or whatever." Um, so basically gets away and into this little tiny concrete hole. Um, then next thing we see Nora in the hospital. And again, we know Nora's in the hospital because of the radio talk and how they were just talking about everything. They knew Nora was there. Nora had help was I think a nurse or something or some sort of helper with Abby's dad in the and like doing surgeries and stuff apparently in the hospital.
Okay.
So that's why she's there doing some work and kind of, working in the hospital doing her thing. Um so she goes into this back room when suddenly out of the back of it, Ellie just appears, which is very convenient.
Very
Um,
Ellie. I think that's what it would exactly feel like, a game Ellie, just as the other
yeah,
side where she just appears out of nowhere and you're like,
just appears.
"What
Yeah,
the fuck?"
yeah. I was like, "Phew, okay, oh, all right, you're just here." And immediately has gunpoint on Abby and asks her, or sorry,
Wow.
Abby on Nora and asks where Abby is. So then Nora starts talking and does her thing, and she's basically not giving up anything. And then she starts kind of talking her down, um, being like, "Oh, like we didn't want to kill him and blah 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 and all these things." And then basically does the bad guy thing. Suddenly 180s out of it and goes like, "He got everything he deserved." And then she splashes a bunch of I don't know what it was on her, some sort of liquid. I'm gonna
Yeah.
guess something that didn't feel well, didn't feel good, and she starts screaming and running down the hallway like intruder, intruder. So just like in the game, you chase her down, and but basically in this one, she just sprints right by everyone who's shooting at her from a balcony.
Yep.
Um, so Nora keeps running. She goes to a dead end. The only thing that's there is an elevator shaft that's kind of been closed. She hops on it, um, and it kind of goes. Does it go crashing down? Is that what it
Yeah,
does here?
it drops down,
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm trying to remember. It drops down, but it didn't just drop down a little bit. It dropped down to B2, um, and we can right away sort of at this point, Ellie follows her down there, climbs down because she's also being followed by a bunch of people. So it's like, oh, I gotta go down there. Um, and the second you get down there, you can see there's something floating in the air already. It's not just, it looks like dust maybe, but we haven't seen something like this around. Very cool scene. It's also portrayed as like, this was one of where the earliest outbreak was brought to in Seattle. Like, so
Yeah.
this is some of the oldest OG fungus. It's had the most time to develop. If you can imagine, the walls being covered and stuff in the game, it's that way too, where literally things have been there so long that the people at the clickers and everything are in the
In the
wall.
wall, yeah.
Yeah, they're like attached to the wall and stuff. You see some people there who have like scrubs on who are attached to the wall and they're spewing out these spores. So you can see like one thing I was reading was like, oh, like these are not new people that have been down there. They've been kept alive this entire time,
Yeah.
stuck to the wall. And then the second person you see is Leon.
Yeah.
That woman from the beginning, her son is there. So you can see there was no difference between someone who has been down there for presumably since the very beginning and someone who just recently, as of a couple days ago, got integrated into the wall, so to speak,
Mhm.
onto this pillar. And it's very visually interesting, very visually cool. You see that again when they breathe, they're basically hijacking their lungs to push these spores out into the air, which again is terrifying and just awful on many fronts.
And it looks so
Um,
cool.
it looks very cool, very very cool. I like the practical sort of look of this. Um, but you're right. No, no, very
Or
very cool.
really great, like, just great in here.
Yep. Um, again, it brings another for me myself when I'm watching this. It brings another level of fear to it too, because when you look at like, oh, this other woman's been down there forever. The ability to preserve whatever they want and use however they want. Like,
Yeah,
we don't know obviously if the person's aged at all. Like, is this seemingly she can just live there forever at this point and just keep spewing? Like,
right.
um, it is kind of weird to think like, oh man, if you get taken over down there, you're just gonna get like you're just gonna be stuck there forever spewing this garbage out. Like,
Nonstop coughing. You see how
yeah,
like, you know how uncomfortable that breathing sounded? I actually thought maybe they were still, like, alive, and they were just
yeah,
trapped there doing this, and I was like, "Oh, that sounds
yeah.
terrible."
No kidding. So then Ellie goes down there. We're still following Ellie as she's kind of showing off this B2 area. And she turns the electricity on, flicks the switch, it gets all red in the next one. You can kind of hear that Nora's having a really hard time breathing. Ellie doesn't seem to have any problem breathing, which again, huge risk because Ellie has not been in spores are new to this
Mhm.
world. So she has not experienced spores. So I mean, again, we know she's immune, but like
How immune?
how like
Do you
yeah,
really wanna be
are
touching that?
spores different because
Yeah,
it's like a like a an
airborne?
evolution,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
like
Oh,
they've
yeah.
like evolved. This is another like so it was a real ballsy take on her part to just go down there. Not that it necessarily would have mattered because once you breathe it, I'm sure you're screwed. So um but anyway, so she went down there, and we get the scene. This is a scene I've been waiting on for a while. This is a scene I've been waiting on for a while. Um, because in my opinion, this is where like we start getting dark Ellie.
Oh, yeah.
You know, we start getting dark timeline. So she turns the corner, you see Nora struggling to breathe on the ground. It's a red light. Um, and then Nora starts going on her monologue like, "Oh, we are both dead, you stupid idiot. You've realized what you've done." And this is kind of when Ellie goes up to her and goes, "Huh, like I'm fine." Like she basically explains to her like,
Are
"Hey,
you
look at me.
sure?
Like yeah, are you sure? Because I'm doing just fine." And then this is where Nora kind of figures out over the time she's just like, "Oh, you are the girl. You're real," and all these things. Um, and then Nora tries to tell Ellie at this time, like, do you even know what Joel did? Like, do you know what he did? He stopped us from creating or stopping the only person who could make, a vaccine
You're
for this.
out of you, I think is what she said, which
Yeah, out of you, a vaccine out of you.
sounds so terrible.
It does
Like,
sound terrible too. I'm like, oh, you're also maybe not as good as we all thought,
yeah,
like, or as good as you think. Um, but and she tells what the part that I like here is that I don't know if it's in the game like this, but she basically tells Ellie and Ellie goes, "Yeah, I know. He
yeah.
told me."
Did she
Because
say
we
that
didn't
he
know that at
I
this
thought
point
she just said she knew.
or something like that. Yeah, she knows along the line of that she knew what actually went on in the hospital and because we didn't know that she had that information at this point.
Yeah.
Um
Yeah, I think she just says
so
that, "Yeah, I know," and then continues to ask about Abby.
yes, exactly. So at this point, basically she's just like, "Tell me where Abby is." She's like, "No, tell me where she is." And she's, "Where is she?" Which is hilarious.
Where were the
I,
other drugs going?
yeah, I'm just like, I can't but help just think of Batman. I'm
Oh,
just
yeah.
like, that was too close. I
It
think I'm like, we had to rewrite that. Yell something else at her because it's for
somebody
me, especially the way she said it.
yeah.
I was just like, oh no. To me, that was like, okay, that part I was like, cut. We need to change that.
Somebody
um, yeah,
flip
somebody
the new.
change it. Somebody do something. Um, so anyway, basically Nora's not going to give up anything. And this is where she starts looking around the room and she finds herself a nice, good old pipe, the good old fashioned pipe that you use in the game. And she starts going to work on her legs. You can kind of see in the face of they do a good job of Ellie in her face being like you can see she's starting to like it. Like
Yeah.
she's kind of reliving part of what Joel had to go through. She's just like, she's just going for the legs. She wasn't hitting her in the head or anything. She's just breaking kneecaps and stuff. Um, and I don't know, we don't really see the end of that. Like she hits her a few times, right? And then we
Yeah.
suddenly have a flashback.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so we don't know if we're gonna pick up the next episode and she's gonna be finishing her off, or if we're just assuming like she finished her off. We don't know yet. In the game, it's a pretty big like I'll call it like a metamorphosis at points. You know, a coming of age. Like she goes real. This is the moment where she just beats this girl to a pulp. The camera basically faces Ellie. Like you're having this sort of quick time event where you're facing Ellie, looking as Nora, and she's just beating the brakes off this person.
Yeah.
Um, Similar to basically Abby, right? Like having that sort of again and we're gonna see more of this as it keeps going, but like they are literally the same people,
Hmm.
just on different sides, right? Just like we're seeing Seraphites and we're seeing WLF and how much they hate each other, and but they're basically the same garbage on both sides, just fighting each other because no one can meet in the middle here.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, we see this, and then we have a flashback right at the end here where we see Joel and Ellie, or we see Joel come in and says, "Hey kiddo," we see Ellie in her bed, um, and basically, yeah, like that's it right there. So we know we're getting. I think next time I haven't seen scenes from next time, but I think we're getting the flashback sequence of the game next time, which is going to be sweet. Um, I'm looking forward to that. And that's it.
That's it.
That's it right there. Simple as that.
All right. So I was worried. There was a couple points throughout this episode where I was starting to worry. Where
Oh dang, we're getting right into it. I like it. Let's
yeah,
go.
yeah. Sorry. Uh, not sorry.
No sorry.
Uh,
Not sorry. Not sorry.
so when I initially was like, when she picked up the guitar, I'm like, oh, fuck, we're doing this again. Like we just had this, we're doing it again.
Yeah.
But then they stopped it. And then when she stopped, I was like, is she just gonna smash this guitar? I thought that would have been.
Yeah.
I was like, I was fully expecting just a full on
Rock on.
rage out. Um, because then I had a moment after that, where I was like, how are we getting from this to the person who throws well, spoilers maybe uh
I don't know.
everything away for what
Yeah.
for this
It's like
mission?
who gets starts getting, caught up in this mission. Yeah.
Yeah, like because at that point I was like, I don't see this being a believable because you don't see that outside of maybe a little bit at the beginning. Like in
Yeah.
2 episodes, I feel like we haven't seen her actually angry. It's just
Yeah,
been
we haven't seen the anger
happy
that
go
drove her
lucky.
to.
Like,
Yeah, no, yeah, for like better part. Like, I mean, honestly, I know it's a scary mission and all this stuff, but she's kind of found her love in Dina, and
mhm,
like it hasn't been like a horrific journey so far. Like they've
yeah,
seen bad things, but it hasn't been like there hasn't been that moment of rage or anything yet. Like you can even see Ellie's just like, you know what, just tell me, I'll go back with you. We'll end this. We'll go. But it's almost kind of like Dina's actually more the motivator in the beginning here to help push her, you know,
yeah,
down further down the road, which is definitely different than the game, right? Because like
yeah.
the game, I feel like it's, if I'm recalling everything right, I remember it's almost Dina being like, we should put the brakes on this.
She is
What?
trying to like pull her
How
back
much
a little
anger?
bit.
Yeah, like how much anger do we need to get rid of? Like how much do we need to do in Joel's name? Like can't we just move on, so to speak? So it's interesting to, the roles have changed a little bit.
Yeah, and even like when the pregnant talk happens, right? Because
Yep.
uh, I'm trying to. I just watched the scene from the game, and Ellie just actually there was a lot more discourse in the relationship at that point, or
Yeah.
and she's just like, "How stupid are you for coming
Mhm.
out here when you knew you could be pregnant?" kind of thing,
Yeah.
and or she no. Dina's like, I didn't want to be a burden, and and Ellie goes, "Well, what
Yeah.
are you now?" So it's just like you're missing those like little micro aggressions or macro
Yeah.
aggressions, I guess, where she's like it's slipping. She's slipping a bit.
Yeah.
But then we got the end of this where she's like the red light and she's just like the Terminator
Yep.
on a mission. I'm like, okay,
Basically, yeah.
here's where this is what we've been missing a bit of this.
Mhm.
But when she doesn't have people around her, then that I guess comes out a bit
Well,
more.
I think part of it too, yeah, like I said, we've been getting a slow burn, a slow increase, probably slower than we see in the game. Although, the medium again too, like so yeah, I mean, we'll get into this other stuff later, but we're gonna start seeing. I think now this is because this is always that major point in the game where she goes to this point. So I think from now on we're gonna see more of this rage or more of this like I'm getting even
Right.
mentality coming out here by any means necessary. So yeah, well we'll see how that goes. You said was there a couple things you said
I
or
think that was, like, the main ones where I was yeah, that was just, like, things that I had been worried about are being
yeah
answered in ways that I'm like, "Okay." I w I was worried if we went too long without these certain things happening, that it just wouldn't feel
yeah.
believable. Um, so glad to see that. That
So
made it better for me.
okay, so the big elephant in the room I think with this one, not elephant in the room, but the big thing is we got the spores.
Yes.
and and until now they've basically been removed. They were retconned out of season one. Um, which again, I don't mind.
Yeah.
Don't mind spores not being there. Never minded them not being there in season two. How do we feel about the integration, the use of spores now? How do you feel?
I'm liking it so far. It looks great.
Mhm.
I'm interested how they're gonna use why they brought them back. There's gotta be a reason.
Yep.
Like, what part of
Yep.
the story in the game could you not tell without the spores? Um,
Yeah.
if it's just like
I don't.
another level of threat. I'm also wondering where
Yeah.
they're gonna find gas masks to deal with this.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah. Sure.
like, nobody has
I
gas masks, but
Mhm. Well, and I don't think they've been searching them out until now. Like,
yeah,
why would you need gas masks, right? And that's
yeah,
kind of the main thing. Before that was that everyone had them in the game because you needed them
yeah.
if you suddenly came across a spot that had spores. So, yeah, like for me, I don't mind the integration of them. I could have had them, could have left them. I think they did a good job of putting them in there.
Yeah.
I am a firm believer. I don't think we're going to see them again,
You think
unless
that's
we're
it?
in some sort of deep dark area where like I don't think we're going to see him again because
That's fair.
I think they tried to say like, this is one of the oldest, earliest places.
Mhm.
I think maybe the threat of it being like a, like, hey, like look what they're capable of. You let them sit around long enough in an area, we start getting this. This is a problem. Um, maybe is one of those things, but like I don't know. For me, I think we might not see him again unless we get to like a really old area, or maybe it's an area that that they will I don't know, this lets you know if you see spores, you're like, okay, this isn't like one of the original spaces of it. I don't know, but I just don't think they're gonna use them that much. I really don't.
I w
I think this was like, here's the one place we can make them fit, and
anything.
it's not gonna affect the rest of the show.
Right.
We don't have to worry about putting masks on our actors. We don't have to
True.
worry about like not being able to see their faces and not being able to hear them talk and not being able to do all these other things. Um, so I think this is the one place. Um, where it went. Yeah, I think.
I could see them
Um,
because 'cause they've been trying to
yeah,
it feels like they've been trying to push this, like, hive mind, like,
yeah,
it's starting to think and try new things,
yeah,
and now that that's been discovered,
mhm,
I wonder if it'll be like, well, now it's basically just gonna roll it out in a bunch of places,
yeah, yeah.
but again, all I can also see is just never or very rarely coming up again.
Mm, okay. Because that was the big thing that everyone was waiting for. I know as a just basically seeing on the internet and stuff as everyone was curious to see how this was gonna get put back in, and I was fine with it. I think they
Mhm.
did a good job. I could see the justification for it. Um,
Cool.
but yeah, I just
Rule
don't
was
think we're gonna
cool.
see it.
It was
Yep.
cool, and that's all that matters
Um,
sometimes.
I'm trying to remember in the game. Did we get the Rat King thing before Nora or after Nora?
Thought, the Last of Us 2
I
Rat
can't remember. I was gonna look that up too. I want after. Maybe it was after.
uh,
No, it must have been before.
Rat King possesses after
Oh no,
given
because you
Nora's
were
comment.
because you
Do
it's
you go
Abby
back to
who's
the
down
hospital
there.
at some point?
Isn't it Abby that's down there?
Oh, maybe it is Abby.
I'm pretty sure it's Abby. Never mind. So this might be something that happens. Yeah, 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 yeah,
Spoilers.
yeah, 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 yeah. No, no, no. There's nothing. It's all one big storyline here. So there's that. So
Ooh,
yeah, it'll
funny.
be interesting to see if we get that. They did hint at it. Like they hinted like obviously there's no rats. Like There is the, but I don't know if we'll actually end up seeing it. We'll see if that comes to fruition. I don't think this
Oh yeah,
episode was
it is obvious.
terrible. I have different concerns with the season so far.
Okay.
Um, Not that it's bad. I love it.
This
Still
is where
great.
your controversial opinions come in?
No, not controversial, but I'm getting to a point now where we have a larger body of work to kind of figure out what's going on here. I don't necessarily love how fast we are moving.
Oh,
I know that's probably sounds backwards. I don't think I've
yeah,
ever heard myself say this before in a show because most times they milk it for too much.
right.
Um, we're moving too fast. I think we're moving too quick. We're not getting enough as viewers, we're not getting enough time to sit on certain things, like to sit on certain decisions. Like them, like the relationship between Ellie and Dina, like in our minds, and maybe it's not long in the game either. It's only in the show, it's only a day, but like m- it's hard for me to always kind of catch up with what's going on here when it feels so quick. It's like, oh, we just got the love scene, and now we're getting this, and we're moving on to this, and now we're gone, and I'll go back if you want to go back, but I won't. Like, it's all happening so quick because, in my opinion, it's kind of like if you took right now, it feels like if you took The Last of Us and you only took 80% of everything, which was like a CG cutscenes, and put like maybe like 10-20% of gameplay elements in there. That's what we're getting, and it's largely in the game. It's completely opposite. There'll be 4 or 5 hour sections where you're not going to see a cutscene because you're just moseying through the city doing different things.
Yeah.
And I feel like we're just jumping from one cutscene to another cutscene to another cutscene. Like, oh man, we just ripped through 7 hours of gameplay in 44 minutes. Like, um, I don't know. Like, I think we're moving just a shade too quick. It really tipped its hand to me when we went straight from the Seraphite section, and we just jumped right into
Right
the
into the
hospital.
hospital?
And I
Yeah,
was just like, last time we saw Ellie,
and then
she
she's
was
inside.
backing yeah,
Yeah.
she was backing into a hole, seemingly trapped. I don't know where the hole went. Maybe I don't know if the hole actually went into the building or into a pipe that went to a building, or and then again, because like all that is a major part of the game where you sneak around, you got to figure out where Nora is, you get to Nora's office, then she comes in, but like this, she just appears out of a shadow. It's like, did you know she was going in there? How long have you been sitting there? Did you know she was gonna, like, is this equipment room you've seen her go into several times because you've been watching her? Like, we know nothing. All I know right now is that she hopped into this random room, and lo and behold, so did Nora.
Yeah.
Like, she either has a horseshoe rammed up her butt, or like I don't get to me. It was a little bit of like, it was jarring. It was jarring to the point where I was watching and I was going, oh. And when I have that feeling, that's not a good thing. When I'm actually, you
You're
know,
getting pulled out of it.
think yeah, when I'm thinking that way in an episode, I go, ooh, like I should not be able to pick on this as quick
Right.
about like, hey, this was really immersion breaking. Like
Yeah.
this was like what we just skipped a large section and it made no sense. So I am worried we're going too quick again. It was a 44-minute episode. Why not make it 60 minutes and give me a little bit of filler in between of hey, look, this is the first time on the entire journey we have Ellie by herself.
Mm.
Like, can we not explore that avenue a little bit? Like, she hasn't been by herself ever. This whole time she's gone out on trips to Jackson with partners and Dina and other people. Before that, she's with Joel for the whole first season. Now, like we're with Dina here for this whole Seattle section, and now it's Jesse, and this is the first time she's on her own, and we don't get to explore like where her mind's at. We just, the last time she saw Dina too, she got an arrow to the leg. Like, is she
Mhm.
worried? Like, hey, are you okay? We got nothing out of that, and for me, I felt a bit like, again, that was immersion breaking for me. Um, Even though I was super happy to get to the scene and see the spores and do all this stuff, I just, to get there, it felt rushed, and to get there, it felt like this is the first time it really, really was apparent how fast we were moving.
Yeah.
I don't know. Does that kind of make sense?
I can
Like,
understand
did you feel
your
that way, or am I on my island here?
I now Ostrich might agree with you, but I have been struggling with the show the last couple of weeks. So the
Yeah.
faster pace did lend itself better to me watching
Mm,
it and enjoying myself.
okay.
And I didn't feel like it was quick, but I can totally see when you like pointed out again. I kind of just turn my brain off a lot. So when you point out that like
And to be fair, I do too. On a lot of shows, I tell people to. That's like my number one critique when people get angry at a show. I'm like, turn your brain off, suspend your disbelief. That's the whole point of it, especially if it's like a sci-fi or a, like suspend it. But I feel like The Last of Us and some other shows too do their best to build a world that is like defined, has definition, right? It's kind of like I always say it's like the modern take on Star Wars, where you know Disney and people have just kind of taken the world of Star Wars that we knew from 1, 2, and 3, or I guess sorry, 4, 5, and 6, and they've taken the rules completely out of it and just said we're going to do what we want, and it makes no sense, and it actually doesn't do it a service. I feel like The Last of Us has done a really good job of like, this is our world. We're very like, it's very based in reality and all these things, and we're going to show the journey because that's what it is. It's a journey.
mhm,
How do we get to the place, and we just skipped a large portion. We're skipping large portions here. Um, so I feel like, yeah, it is what it is. It's not terrible. Again, I don't want to say it's not terrible. This is still good TV.
yeah.
There's far worse things you could be watching with your time, and I will stand on that. But like, it just feels like when the source material is so good, like, what are we doing here? Why do we only have a 7 episode season? Why is this a 44-minute um episode, the shortest one so far? When it feels rushed, we could have had other stuff. Yeah, I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't know.
I get where you're coming from. I
So
do.
I'm definitely going to be acutely aware, I think, on the next one, just to kind of see what happens. I don't know. Again, we're going to watch scenes for the next time here after this, but I want to know where we're going next here and how fast we're moving, because now I'm curious every single time. I'm like, well, how far are we getting next time? Are we getting through everything and we're getting back to the theater, or where we go? Like, how fast are we moving? So it'll be curious. I'm definitely, yeah. This was the one where I'm like, oh, this is feels weird to me. So anything else you need to talk about along the way, or that struck you kind of
No, I think
nothing?
I covered
Covered major
my
beats.
yeah, I covered my stuff and
Yeah, we got our main sort of defined roles and things too. So yeah, it'll be interesting. But okay, let's get to the review section here. All right. Recapping last week, we had a 7.5 from Poco, we had an 8.5 from myself, and an 8.75 controversial number from Ostrich. So um yeah, that's kind of where we were for episode 4. We are on episode 5 now. Who would like to go? I think it must be my turn to go first. I haven't gone first in a
I
while.
can't remember. I can't remember.
I think because you went 2 ago. I think it's my turn. For myself, and I have a number this time. I am feeling this episode is more of a 7.5. I was
Okay.
kind of jumping back and forth between a 7 and a 7.5. Um, again, it's not bad. Don't want to make it sound like this is, like the sky's falling, because it isn't. It isn't. Everything is still good. They've added the parts they've added. Again, HBO, that original scene with this Hanrahan character and the leader, like, that was great. That was
Mhm.
well written. It was meaningful. It gave context. It did everything it needed to do in like a minute. It was great. Um, but just some of the other stuff felt a bit quick. I loved the visuals. I loved so many things about it, but it sometimes when you move that quick, it just didn't feel as earned to me. Maybe.
Yeah.
Um, like, part of, again, not to go on this huge thing because like we got our number, but like, what I was jumping between 7 and 7.5, because part of what I loved personally myself, again, this is just myself, The Last of Us, was you were almost setting out on a journey to kill, it felt like, one at a time. You're like,
Yeah.
oh, we're going for Nora. Nora's in that building right there. We're gonna go for Nora. And so you're on a journey just to find Nora, and there's this long journey. This was like, hey, we know where Nora is in one episode, and now we're just there, and we got her. We didn't even have to, like, if she would have been hiding in the vents or something, and you could kind of see what she's doing and knowing, and she could kind of learn, but we didn't get any of that. It was just very quick. So to me, the death didn't mean as much to me, other than her losing her mind. As
Mhm.
we're in the game, I felt like, holy cow, like, This was brutal. This was calculated. This is like first degree murder. You know what I mean? Like she's doing this on purpose. She's hunting them down. We're like grimy. We're in the, and I don't know, just lost a lot of feeling from this. So you know what? Yeah, I'll stick at 7.5. I'll stay at 7.5.
Okay.
No changing that. Your turn.
He's locked in.
Talk
Um,
me off. Don't talk me off the ledge.
I am the more I'm watching, the more I'm realizing how skewed my scale is. Because like when I was like thinking about it, I was like, oh yeah, like 7. But I definitely like this episode more than the last one.
Yeah,
Um, so I'm gonna go 8.
nice.
Not that I think it's an 8 out of 10,
No, you do. It's gonna go on there. You have to think it's an 8.
but
You have to believe it.
just like my scale is so top heavy. I'm trying to think.
What do you
Um,
mean it's top heavy?
okay, maybe it's not top. I just feel like I some things that are sevens are maybe not meant to be sevens, meant to be lower because I'm
Oh,
like
okay. So if you could go back, you think you'd lower
I think some
4
things
or
would be
1?
lower. I do think 2 would be the same because 2 was
Yeah.
amazing. Um, yeah, 4 like they all might just drop down a point
Yeah.
and then everything would make a bit more sense. But so yeah, I'm gonna go with 8 because I do
Okay.
think it's better than the last episode.
Yeah.
Um, but I do not think it's actually worthy of an 8, if that makes sense.
Oh, okay. No, it doesn't at all, but that's okay.
Come on, man.
No, no, I get what you're saying. And what got you to that point? What got you to an 8 versus a 7.5? We'll just say from last time, because I know you're comparing it to that one.
I just like I'm very I don't know. I could maybe point it out if I sat there and I thought about it for long enough, but just like gut feeling, enjoying watching.
You had a
Like
little bit more enjoyment this time around.
yeah, like I was sitting there and the freaking hunters were cool as fuck. That whole
Yeah.
scene, I was kind of like the way they revealed like oh shit, it's there, and then it ran away.
Yep.
And you're like, okay, there's only one, and then there's 20 or
Yeah.
whatever. Like great.
Yep.
The beginning scene is also great. Um, I did enjoy the last scene, the spores, like that whole
Yep.
thing. Uh,
Mhm.
very cool as well. So it's like there's great scenes, and then yeah, with like in the middle, but I just felt like there was more good than in this
Yeah.
for me.
And I think they're doing a good job kind of speaking to what you're saying there. I think they're doing a very good job of like not giving us um nothing as far as action goes every time. We're always getting action. Like I felt like in the first season there was some where you didn't get any sort of like action in the
Yeah,
episodes, which was fine because again, I'm fine with that. But I'm sure there's a large subsection of people who watch the show who want to see those scenes, who want to see um who want to see the clickers and want to see some fighting and some gunshots and all these things like
yeah,
so there's I get some people love that. I think they're doing a very good job of giving us action, giving us story building, um, world building stuff. So yeah, it's interesting. But I was definitely. It felt like this ended early.
yeah,
I forgot to say that for myself too. It felt like this one ended quick. Like I remember we're getting the pipe, and then boom, we have a flashback. I'm like, oh, like
yeah. You could have
okay,
finished with her finishing the
yeah,
kill,
like
and then
or
like
like
being
finishing
like,
the kill and maybe having like a breakdown or something, and then
yeah,
like zooming in on her face and being like going to this flashback.
yeah, where
Um,
you get that emotional
yes,
moment, and
yeah,
then that explains the flashback because she's like flashing back
yeah,
or whatever.
for sure, for sure, yeah. So yeah, it is interesting. But yeah, I love it. Can't say enough about it. But it's just a matter of um, I'm hoping we we're not just racing too far forward here because we have to get to a certain point.
Right. Yeah.
Then I wish we would have got more episodes. But
Yeah. Well, I don't.
yeah,
If you're yeah, if you're trying to cram, you should have just given yourself more episodes. What's the issue
yeah,
in giving yourself more episodes?
yeah,
Like,
exactly,
costs a bit more money. I can't imagine you're not making enough money right now, anyways. So,
for sure. Yeah. Okay. Is there anything else you gotta say here, or you want to say before we sign off?
no, I think that
All right.
covers it.
Perfect. Okay, so if anyone finds us on Twitch later, again, you can watch this. If you want to watch the video, it'll be uploaded on YouTube here in a day or two. Just go ahead, go to the old YouTube Permadirt Gaming. I would like to thank, I mean, I'll even throw Ostrich a thank. You know, he's not here
Oh,
today,
come
but I think
on.
Ostrich come along on this journey. Obviously, Poke is here. Thank you so much for hanging out and giving me your thoughts again as well. We will be back next week with episode 6. 2 episodes left, I think, right? 7 I said. So 2 episodes left and then we're through season 2. So it's coming real quick. So
And then we're
um
waiting for Fallout Season 2 to do this in
yeah.
December.
Yeah, exactly. Fallout season 2. Are you putting schedule 1? Oh, we'll talk about that in a little bit. All right. But without further ado, guys, take care, and we'll see you guys around next